Today we're going to be talking about the dark history of Northern Ontario, and before you go, okay, because this is not usually my political content, it is very, very political, and as I am getting notice that the Conservative candidate for my riding has dropped out, we're going to talk about Northern Ontario's dark history. Welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Jamie AB, and I have lived in Northern Ontario for 3 years now, almost, and I very much was passionate about coming to this area and supporting local. Actually, my podcast, before I got all that money stolen from me, started out as me going around to different local businesses and uplifting them and showcasing them and just figuring out what everyone's passions were and showing everybody around, because I truly thought that I didn't even know this area existed until my adopted mom moved up here, and I thought that we were doing such a disservice to my area because nobody knows it exists. We actually are from an area, I would like to say that Northern Ontario past North Bay, like North Bay and past, is actually Route 66, okay? Because 90 years ago, we actually had a human zoo. Yes, you heard that right. We had a human zoo because we are home to the world's most famous quintuplets, the Dion quintuplet, which is a story about how the government didn't want a family to exploit their daughters to get medical care because they were a poor family living in Northern Ontario, and they were going to take their kids to the Chicago Fair and put them on display for money and care for the babies in exchange. And the government took those babies from those parents and decided to exploit them themselves and create a literal human zoo. There are 2 remaining Dion quintuplets that are still alive, and I truly believe that this should be, first of all, I watch Dad Challenge podcast. He is a Canadian creator who calls out exploiters, family channels, things like that. And I have no idea, after reading the books that they wrote, how we don't have child exploitation laws in their name, because they were on the commercials for Palmolive. Yeah. Once you see the story of the Dion quintuplets, you kind of realize that this has been going on a super long time, as in them pushing all of their advertising. It's all the same companies. It's all the same literal products. It's so crazy. There's maybe a couple of things different. Like they very much promoted, they got the kids to promote, yeah, and like lard, fat, stuff like that, medical equipment, toothpaste, everything. And then if you go about 200 kilometers north, you're going to run into Cobalt, Ontario, which the first time I drove through it, I was taking the Lake Way on the 11B, and I drove through Cobalt and I could not believe my eyes. I thought that I was driving through a ghost town. Well, turns out I kind of was. There is a sinkhole mine in the outskirts, not even outskirts, it's in the town, and it's 250 feet deep. Yes, there are the workers' rights and environmental rights were born in Northern Ontario, Cobalt specifically, because Cobalt was bigger than Toronto. The minerals used from Cobalt literally built New York and Toronto. The first stock exchange was in Cobalt, Ontario. And so was one of the first NHL games. Yes, a town that you guys have never heard of that now has a 250-foot sinkhole in it. Yeah. Northern Ontario used to be a bussin'. Okay, I don't know what other word to say. It used to be bussin'. Okay, we used to have so much tourism, so much work here because we had mines. When you go and look up all of these little towns on YouTube, like I'll look up Virginia Town. And Virginia Town is a little town that I go through to get to Rouyn-Noranda. That is not how you say that, and I am not talking the way that they talk because it is literally that's how they say it on the CBC report. And it is dead. It is dead. There is nothing there. I wish I had footage to show you guys because it is so unbelievably crazy. So this is just like an example of kind of what used to be there and what's there now. I have seen pictures where there's so many people because people would come here from all over to work in our mines. Is there a picture of how many people were there? I can't exactly find the photo, but you get the idea. We'll have a mine around them, logging mill around them, or whatever it is that they're, exploiting from the land. And what used to happen was that these rich people would just come in, do whatever they want to the land, destroy it, and then leave. And then it would leave all of our communities really, really poor. And, I've always wanted to move up north, but what stopped us is that from Aurelia to North Bay is basically ran on tourism. And, my husband works as a blue collar worker. So then when we figured out that he could work in the mines or the logging mills up here and get paid very fairly, that's when we decided to move up north. Now we have Charlie Angus. And he's in all of these documentaries that I've watched, so it's very hard for me to watch them and not cringe entirely, because tell me why he's just abandoned us. He's very anti-oil. He's the one that didn't want oil to go through, or you don't want to praise oil or gas, which is wild because I became less of a climate extremist when I moved to Northern Ontario and realized, hey, we cannot use electric vehicles up here. So basically, the person that we have representing us up here thinks that all of the industries that fuel our area are evil and terrible for the environment, which they can be, but we are in Canada and we have so many regulations that it shouldn't be like that anymore. We know not to go into a random town, destroy it, and put mines in the middle of it like they do and have in Cobalt, okay? We know better now. So why is Charlie Angus stopping us from being able to do anything? Him and Anthony Rota, we don't even have like an official, they got rid of the MP for our riding, which was the only conservative area in Northern Ontario. And I guess I was just surprised because in Southern Ontario, every rural area is super conservative. But then when I figured out that, they completely have screwed over so many little Northern Ontario towns, it made a lot of sense to me. Even the town that I'm living in, the logging mill came in and gave people cancer in the 70s because the smokestacks were not high enough. And they had to come in and put the smokestacks high enough so that the town would stop getting so much cancer. But I don't think that my gardens aren't affected. Just because, it's higher in the air doesn't mean it doesn't affect our lungs, okay? So if you wonder why Northern Ontario always goes NDP, that's why, because we've seen so many people come in and destroy our area. But now we're at a point where we have hardly any business up here, okay, that will stay around. And all of our communities are pretty poor. In Northeastern Ontario, because we're not like over where Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie are, our area is becoming more and more poor. And I just found out this morning that our conservative riding is dropping out because of problems that she's finding within our area. I guess I don't know what she meant by it or anything, because she has been going door to door for years. She has been our conservative. I've been excited to vote for her, and I'm just so confused and lost and upset because, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We need someone that's actually going to care about, first of all, not only just the environment, but also people who are going to care about our population up here, okay? They're getting rid of Starlink, which is so many of our Northern Ontario businesses are able. I do not think people realize how horrible this is for Northern Ontarians if they get rid of Starlink. I just don't understand what is going on and why everybody's abandoned Northern Ontario, which is the ring of fire, okay? We have already seen business after business after business go out here. And I understand why our area has notoriously been NDP before, with being the birth of workers' rights and environmental rights. But we also need to understand that if we want our area to thrive, we need people to invest in us. And we don't need them taking away our resources so that we can run a business, i.e. Starlink. Currently being ran by somebody like Charlie Angus, who their ideology is so strong, but their ideology means that people in Northern Ontario will not and cannot thrive. When the representative of our area doesn't believe in oil and gas, I want you guys to understand that mines, what do you think they are powered by? What do you think they're powered by? We have communities up here that are actually those communities that don't have access to a grocery store. People in Cobalt, Ontario have to go at least half an hour to the other side of town because our towns are 3 towns. Our city is 3 towns amalgamated, and they have to go pretty far to be able to get their groceries. Oh, food deserts. Tamagami doesn't even have a grocery store in the freaking winter, I don't think. So if we had people who were only allowed to drive electric vehicles like Charlie Angus wants, how do you think these people are going to get anywhere, Charlie Angus? How are these people in food deserts going to be able to get to their destination? They literally have to charge while they're there. We have no charging stations. So another thing is that they haven't even invested in Northern Ontario of the things that they want us to participate in, like electric vehicles. There's like charging stations only at where I can think that they are is the nice Holiday Inn, like the hotel. In conclusion, I really just think that Charlie Angus and Anthony Rota have failed Northern Ontario, and I am very sad that Cassidy has dropped out of the race. Because I haven't even heard someone replacing Rhoda or the NDP candidate. Because Charlie Angus is, I guess, retiring. I don't know. Him retiring hasn't stopped him from running his mouth and ruining things for Northern Ontarians. And leave some cryptic message like, I'll be in politics, but I won't be in the House or something. I have no idea. I have no idea what his plans are, but the man owns a plane and he lectures us. Okay? He lectures us about gas and stuff. Do you have an electric plane? Or what? Charlie Angus. Anyways, if you're wondering why I'm not running, well, because I don't have time to do that, okay? I am very, very sick. That's why I am online only. No, seriously, I went to the Million Man March and I thought I was going to die after. I was so tired. If I was in Southern Ontario, I genuinely do think I would be covering things way more and going to like all the protests and stuff. But I am very, very grateful that I am in Northern Ontario and that God said, sit your butt down because you need to heal. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So anyways, I want to know from you guys, what is the industry that powers your Canadian town? Okay. I am so very interested because in Southern Ontario, it's a lot of factories for food and auto factories, stuff like that. And obviously tons of, business and lots of different things. Okay. I'm going to make a whole, I've said this before, I'm making a whole video about living in Northern Ontario because it is significantly different. Our needs are significantly different. And I've even said that we should be a different province. So I'll let you guys know if I hear some good news about Northern Ontario, because right now we even had a guy come in because we had the biggest abandoned building in the world or something in Haileybury, Ontario, and some TLC show said that they were going to take it over and build a bunch of stuff, and they have done nothing. It actually looks abandoned, unless maybe they only work through the summers, because that's possible. It's kind of you can't really do anything here in the winter. But I will be making videos, by the way, on those two things I talked about, Cobalt, Ontario, and the Dion quintuplets. I heard about the Dion quintuplets in the summer because they basically started Northern Ontario along with Cobalt. I'm talking the Queen came to Northern Ontario, or they met the Queen or something, okay? Northern Ontario is a very, very interesting place, and I hyperfixated on the history, and I still do. If I could tell you guys where I live without doxing myself, I would, because I love the little town I am in, and the person who started this town is such a good person, and if I ever leave, which we will be because I can't live near these smokestacks forever. I'll let you guys know about the small town I live in because his story deserves to be told too. Not every CEO is a horrible person, okay? Oh, and I want to know, have you guys been to Northern Ontario? Have you been to like New Liskeard area? Have you heard of Kirkland Lake? What other? Temagami, Cochrane. Yeah, we have weird names up here. Sorry about that. But the area is very, very interesting. So yeah, that's my video for today. Let's pray for Northern Ontario today. But anyways, guys, have a good day, and I hope you're enjoying this March break with your kids.